We have some. Oh. We have some work to do to fix the problems, don't we? The next, your next guest has made a habit of fixing problems. In fact, the company founded back in 1984 was a company that was designed to fix problems. It was designed to invest in companies that were having a difficult time finding investors. And it was a company that was designed to invest in companies that had gotten themselves into trouble. By the way, I happen to have worked for one of those companies. I just want to fully disclose here. My company actually was one of the companies that was bailed out by my next guest company that he founded back in 1984, Bain Capital and Bain Equity. Mitt Romney has a habit of fixing things. Mitt Romney fixed the Salt Lake City Olympics disaster. It was falling apart, and they called Mitt Romney. And just like he fixed companies, and just like he helped out folks, invested, or helped them right their ships, he did that with the Salt Lake Olympics. And it went from a disaster, something that was spiraling out of control, and he actually managed to not only salvage it, but make it one of the most successful Olympics America ever hosted. But he wasn't done yet. Massachusetts was a mess, very much like Wisconsin was a mess. Taxes were going up, spending was out of control, a $3 billion budget deficit. Sound familiar? 2002, Mitt Romney became governor. Democrat state legislature. Sound familiar? And in the course of his terms as governor, he took a $3 billion budget deficit, turned it into a $2 billion rainy day fund. Democrats in the legislature tried to thwart him at every move. 800 vetoes later, Massachusetts was on a path to add more jobs, far more jobs than it had lost in the previous administrations. Taxes went down, spending under control, real reforms in how their government processed and paid for entitlements. By the time he left Massachusetts, Massachusetts had gone from losing thousands of jobs every month to adding thousands of jobs. From losing businesses every year to adding businesses every year. And he aims to do the same for the United States of America. Governor Mitt Romney, and I'm not sure what direction he's coming from, but Governor Mitt Romney is with us tonight. Without further ado, please stand up. Mitt Romney.
Tell him if I don't survive, I was born free. I was born free.
Thank you.
I was born free. Born free.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Vicki. I recognize the voice. I had not seen her before. It's nice to see you, Vicki. It is nice to be in a hall of champions tonight. And I say that, you guys, this is the place. Chairman Priebus, thank you. Jim Sensenbrenner here. Paul Ryan, what a champion. Senator Ron Johnson, and of course, your great governor. What a hero he is. Scott Walker, thank you. Now, you're going to be making a big choice on Tuesday, and the person you select on Tuesday may well be the person who faces Barack Obama in the fall, and that will be an incredible election because you'll not be just choosing a man in November or a party, you'll also be choosing a destiny for America. This is a critical time for this country, and I know that over the campaign over the summer, you're going to see just a blizzard of charges and counter-charges. You're going to get tired of turning on the TV. So before the cacophony of attacks goes on, let's talk about some things we know at this point. We know that under Barack Obama, 800,000 jobs have been lost. We know that under Barack Obama, 2.3 million homes have been foreclosed upon. We know that under this president, chronic long-term unemployment is the worst it's been in American history. We know that under Barack Obama, he has the distinction, a sad distinction, of being the first president in history to put a $1 trillion deficit on the books, and he has had that unfortunate distinction every year he has been in office. We know that under President Barack Obama, that there are 46 million Americans on food stamps, and that under this president as well, over the last 4 years, the median income in America has dropped by 10%. Now, this president is fond of pointing out that he did not cause a recession, but he did not make it better. His recovery has been tepid. It has underperformed in part because what he has done has made it more difficult for the economy to recover. He likes to take great applause for his stimulus, but the stimulus protected government, not the American people. And as we see, and I hope we're going to see some recovery and jobless numbers are going to get better, people get back to work. But don't forget, the stimulus expired 3 years ago. The recovery you're seeing is in spite of his stimulus, not because of it. His stimulus failed the American people. Then his other signature achievement, Obamacare. That sure as heck didn't help. Small businesses didn't say, let's go out there and hire some more people because Obamacare is coming. And anybody in the healthcare sector certainly pulled back. Then the other great achievement he talks about is Dodd-Frank. And that was to try and deal with the too big to fail banks. Remember that? Well, what Dodd-Frank did was make it harder for community banks to make loans to small businesses. And by the way, the banks that got bigger under Dodd-Frank have been the too big to fail banks. So this president's policies have failed to turn this economy around. His economic strategy has been a bust, and that's one reason why I'm convinced that the American people are going to turn him out of office in 2012. Now, the astonishing thing is, by the way, he thinks he's done a good job. Have you heard he said he actually thinks he's done a great job? And he says only Abraham Lincoln, FDR, and Lyndon Baines Johnson compare. I mean, this was not said on Saturday Night Live, all right? He said this in the mainstream media. And you ask yourself, how can that be? How can he think that? Is he so disconnected with the American people he doesn't understand what people think? Yes, exactly right. And of course, there's something else, and that is he's trying to fundamentally transform America into something we have never been and will never be. He has a different vision for America than you and I have, and that the American people have. He wants to make America a government-centered society. And I want to make America, once again, an opportunity society led by free people and free enterprises. That's the choice we have. You know, and under a government-centered society, government gets bigger and bigger because it can, all right? And it taxes more and more, and it borrows more and more, and trillion-dollar deficits are the order of the day. Do you realize just how big government is today? Government at all levels, federal, state, and local, now consumes 38% of our economy. And if we let Obamacare stand, then that's going to take that almost to 50% of the economy would be directly controlled by the federal government or other governments. And then, of course, if you take the other places government has indirectly insinuated its control, whether that's energy or healthcare or automotive and so forth, why you're getting to well more than half of the economy is directly or indirectly controlled by the government. That's a government-centered society. Under my view, what we have to do is cap the amount of the economy that's consumed by the federal government, take it from 25 down to 20, cut federal spending, and finally balance the U.S. budget. Now, under his government-centered society, you don't take advantage of the natural resources and energy resources that are here in abundance. You basically hold off on coal through regulation. You hold off on drilling for oil. You make it more and more difficult to get natural gas by putting regulations on fracking. And that's, of course, so that you can have the applause of the Europeans for all the wind and solar that you're using. And in my view, instead, we take advantage of our oil, our coal, our gas, our nuclear, as well as our renewables, and we also bring in the Keystone Pipeline from Canada. Now, you understand that in a government-centered society, government and the bureaucrats know better what kind of health insurance you should have, and also, I believe ultimately they're going to tell us what kind of treatments we're entitled to. And the right course for America is to do what I'll do on day one. I will stop Obamacare in its tracks and get it repealed and return health care to the people of the country. Now, in a government-centered society like the president envisions, taxes go up and up and up, particularly on business, all right? I mean, it's an amazing thing about our liberal, out-of-touch Democrat friends like President Obama, and that is they really want a strong economy. You hear them say that all the time. They just don't like business. I mean, you understand that the economy is nothing but the addition of all the businesses in the country together. That's what the economy is. I mean, what they say is like someone who says they love omelets, but they can't stand eggs. And so, his latest proposal is to take the marginal tax rate in America from 35% to 40%. Now, just think about that for a moment. Do you know how many American workers in the private sector work in businesses taxed at the individual tax rate? Those marginal tax rates. 54% of America's workers work in those businesses. If you raise that tax rate to 40%, you'll kill jobs. Now, they have other ideas. The Obamacare tax, by the way, 2.3%, not on profit, on sales. I was with a company in San Diego the other day. They have $600 million in sales. They have 1,400 workers, 1,300, I think, workers. The chief executive said they will lay off 200 people as a result of the Obamacare tax. And then there was the one that came out yesterday from Vice President Biden. He is the gift that keeps on giving. You know that? I mean, this guy, and he said we ought to have a global tax. A global tax. Now, he hasn't explained exactly what that means, but I have an idea where it's coming from. Look, the right course is for us to reduce taxes, reduce exemptions and deductions, but get our taxes down so small businesses can hire more people, we can put more people to work, we can help more families, we can raise the middle class, we can get people out of poverty, and we can get the revenues we need to protect ourselves with a strong military, and we can care for our seniors and our children at the same time. Let's be American, and let's stop this government-centered society from growing larger and larger.